This goes along with section 2.7 on solving inequalities. These problems will be just on the inequalities that have fractions. So we're going to start with 8/9 x is greater than or equal to -3. Now if you remember, just with the equations, if we have fractions in a problem, we want to find a common denominator to multiply every term in this inequality by so that we can get rid of our fractions in the problem. So because my only denominator is the 9, then I'm going to use that as my common denominator, multiply each term in the inequality by 9. So what will happen here, remember this is just like multiplying by 9 over 1, those 9's will divide out, and I'm left with 8x is greater than or equal to -27. Then my next step, divide by the 8 on both sides. I do not need to reverse the inequality sign because I did not divide by a negative. And so I have x is greater than or equal to -27 over 8. Now on your problem, on your homework, they may ask you at this point to graph your solution set on a number line. Okay, well if you have an improper fraction, -27 over 8, you're going to need to change that to a mixed number. Okay, 8 would go into -27 -3 times. That would be with 3 left over. So -3 and 3/8. That's going to help me when I graph this on the number line. So I would have -3 and 3/8. You know, if we had 0 here, -3 about here, -4, -3 and 3/8 is going to be a little bit past the -3, not quite 3.5, but somewhere there. If I'm going to shade, I'm just going to mark this and say it's going to be about right here. Greater than means that I'm going to shade to the right, and then because it can also equal to -3 and 3/8, that means I'm going to put a bracket. Okay, so this would be my graph. Bracket greater than or equal to -3 and 3/8. Then I know on the homework they're going to ask you for the interval notation. So remember that should always look like your graph. So it should be bracket. We're not going to use the mixed number. They're actually going to want you to use the fractional answer, -27 over 8 to positive infinity. Parentheses always around the infinity symbol. So for the graphing, if you get, kind of a weird looking answer, you're going to want to use the mixed number to help you graph it. But on your interval notation, you're going to use actually the improper fraction. Okay, we're going to look at one more problem, which has lots of fractions also. Okay, so there is a problem similar to this on the homework. You notice every term has a fraction, so I'm going to have to look at every denominator. 5, 8, 10, and 5. Find a number that all of those will divide into. Okay, the smallest number they will all divide into is 40. So everything, every term gets multiplied by 40. So again, just keep in mind what you're trying to do. You're trying to use a number that all of these denominators will divide into because we want to get rid of the fractions. So 5 would divide into 40 8 times. 8 times 4, 32x. Okay, same thing here. 8 will divide into 40 5 times. 5 times 1, -5. Bring down the inequality sign. Divide 10 into 40 would go 4 times. 4 times 7 is 28. X. 5 into 40 would be 8. 8 times 8, -64. Okay, so that looks a whole lot better than, all those fractions we had to begin with. So then we solve it just like the other inequalities. all the x's to one side. So this negative 28, or I'm sorry, it's positive, but it's going to be negative when we bring it over. We already have a negative 64, so we're going to bring over negative 5 and make it positive 5. Okay, so then we would have, just to simplify both sides of the equation, just like we would in a normal problem. So we would have 32 minus 28 would give me a 4x less than or equal to, we've got a negative 64 and a positive 5, so that's going to be a negative 59. Divide by 4, and again, do not reverse the inequality because we didn't divide by a negative. So I would get negative 54, or negative 59 over 4. X is less than or equal to, again, just like the other problem, 4 is not going to divide into this evenly. So if I'm going to graph this, then I've got to divide. 4 will go into 59, let's see, 14 times if you just divide. So that'd be 56, so we'd have 3/4 left over. Again, that's negative. So on my graph, that's going to be between negative 14 and negative 15. Okay, about here, closer to the negative 15 because it's 3/4. We're going to shade less than, x is less than, so we shade to the left. Bracket, because it's equal to. Okay, so then if we need to write our interval notation, it should mirror what we have on the graph. So if we're shaded to the left, we would have negative infinity on the left, stops at negative 59 over 4, use that fraction, parentheses around negative infinity, bracket around negative 59 over 4. So I hope this will help you on those last few homework problems dealing with fractions.